Okay, everyone, you are welcomed here to my free session for the IELTS, in which we are going to talk about the skill of the headings. But firstly, let us talk for around 5 to 10 minutes about the IELTS. The IELTS test is divided into many kinds, but the most famous kinds are the academic for studying purposes and the general IELTS, which is for immigration. In the academic IELTS, you will have the reading, the academic or the general. You will have firstly the listening, sorry. The listening, you will have 40 questions. You will listen and answer immediately. And the listening will be divided into 4 parts. Each part is consisted of 40 questions. You will have around 30 to 40 minutes of listening and answering the questions. Then you will have 10 minutes to shift your answers from the booklet, which they will give you, to an official paper. Number two, you will have, sorry, a break for 10 minutes. After that, you will have the reading. The reading consists of 3 passages, 3 texts. And the questions are 40 questions divided among the texts. You will have 60 minutes precisely to answer. Then you will have a 10-minute break. After that, you will have the writing. The writing in the journal will be 2 tasks. One of them, task number 1, which is the letter. Task number 2, the essay. You need to answer within 60 minutes. In the academic, you will have 2 tasks too. The first one, whether a figure or a diagram, and the second one is an essay too. The speaking will be in a different time, whether it will be in a different time in the same day or in a different day, could be before or after the test. That depends on how you research for it and how they agree if they have a free time before or after or in the same day. Let me tell you something. The skills of the IELTS, whether it's general or academic, are the same for the speaking, for the essay, for the reading, and for the listening. They are different in task number 1, writing, and also the language of the reading in the general is easier than the language of the reading in the academic. Number 2, in the academic, you need to answer less correct answers to have a high score, while in the general, you need to have more correct answers to have high score. Okay, now, if you have no questions, I'm going to share the lecture of today. Okay, please, I want one of you to confirm that he or she can see the share. Can you see the share?
Yeah,
Yes,
I can.
thank you
Yes.
very much. Thank you, Mr. Tariq. Okay, so I want everybody to mute his or her mic. I'm going to start explaining about matching headings. Firstly, we don't have time to understand each single word of the passage, simply because we are under time pressure since we've got to answer 40 questions within 60 minutes. That means 1.5 minutes as an average for each question. A heading. What's a heading? A heading is usually, not always, the first or the second sentence of the paragraph. The paragraph, not the passage, because the passage contains several paragraphs. Uh, it's also called the topic sentence, and it really outlines the main purpose of the paragraph. Outlines the main purpose, that means it gives the main idea. Okay? Okay, now let's go on. If you want to try to find the heading fast, it's better to follow a particular search order. How to do that? That's the question. When searching for the headings, read the first sentence of the paragraph. If you find the heading, stop reading. If you don't find it, read the second sentence of the paragraph. Then decide which heading is the right one. And usually this technique works 80 to 90% correctly. Let me tell you a secret, 99% of using this method works correctly. Okay? Let me repeat. Let me repeat from the beginning. What's a heading? A heading is usually, not always, the first or the second sentence of the paragraph. It's also called the topic sentence, and it really outlines the main purpose of the paragraph. Outlines the main purpose of the paragraph. That means it gives the main idea of the paragraph. It tells us what this paragraph is talking about. As I told you, a paragraph, not a passage, not a text, because a text contains several paragraphs. Okay, now, when it comes to the exam, if you want to try to find the headings fast, it's better to follow a particular search order. How to do that? When searching for the headings, pay attention to this point, please. Read the first sentence of the paragraph. If you find it, if you find the heading, don't continue reading. Just put the answer and move on to the next one, to the next paragraph. If you don't find it, read the second sentence. And that's ensure, let's say 99%, you will find the paragraph, the heading, sorry. And this technique usually works 99% correctly. I wrote here 80 to 90% correctly, but to tell you the truth, it works 99% correctly. Now, if you have no questions, let us test our understanding. Let us read a passage about robots at work and answer it and explain the reason. After we do that, I will also ask you if you have questions. Then after that, I will give you a passage to do as an exercise. Okay, now, does anyone have any question? Does anyone have any question? No questions? If you have a question, do not hesitate asking. Yes? Nobody? Okay. Now, let's continue now. Let's take this passage as an example. You will have a list of the headings, then you will have the passage of several paragraphs. The first thing you will do is to read the list of the headings. Don't forget, you need to have a rapid look. Rapid means fast. First, read the list of the headings and understand it. 1. Robots working together. This is clear. 2. Preparing LGVs for takeover. We will see what the meaning of an LGV is from the paragraphs. Looking ahead. Looking ahead. What's the meaning of looking ahead? Looking ahead has one of four meanings. The first one could be to think of the future. The second one could be to think about the future. The first one could be expecting the future, what will happen in the future. And the fourth one could be planning for something for the future. This is the meaning of looking ahead. In all the cases, it means something related to future, looking ahead. Okay, number 4, the LGV's main functions. It talks about the duties of the LGVs. We will see. 5, split location for newspaper production. 6, newspaper superseded by technology. Pay attention, when technology is the main idea, it's not an extra word. Number 7, getting the newspaper to the printing center. Getting here could mean shifting, transmitting, moving, taking. In all the cases, it talks about the method of a transmission. Number 8, controlling the robots. And number 9, beware of robots. Beware. Uh, we have four words. Four words. If you face them in the actual test, one of them will be in the list of the headings, and another one of them will be in the paragraph, in one of the paragraphs. Once you see these, do not think, just choose. This is the right answer. They are beware, alert, warning, and danger. Beware, alert, warning, and danger, because they all mean the same meaning. They are close to each other in meaning. Okay, everyone. Now let us test our real understanding. Let us read the first sentence of paragraph A. The newspaper production process has come a long way from the old days when the paper was written, edited, typeset, and ultimately printed in one building, with the journalists working on the upper floors and the printing process going on the ground floor. Let us reread it carefully. The newspaper production process. What does it talk about? It talks about a newspaper production. The most important elements of this paragraph are the newspaper production. Those two elements. The newspaper production. Let's go on reading it. Process has come a long way from the old days when the paper was written, edited, typeset, and ultimately printed in one building. In one building, with the journalists working on the upper floors and the printing presses going on the ground floor. So it talks about the newspaper production in different locations in one building, within one building. So now let's look for those most important elements, which are the newspaper production. Robots working together? No, it has no relation. Preparing LGVs for takeover is paragraph A, and we don't have anything related uh, to the meaning of LGV. So LGV for me, as an English teacher, as an ALSA trainer, I may translate it as language whatever. For others, as engineers, as doctors, as whatever, they will translate it up to what they have understood from their field. So do not guess here. Leave it. 3. Looking ahead. It talks about the future, expecting, the planning for the future or something like that. We don't have anything like that. Leave it. Number 4, the LGVs, another LGV. Leave it. Number 5, split location for newspaper production. It does talk about the split locations, the different locations within one building, about the newspaper production. So we don't answer it immediately. We give it a high possibility that this is the right answer. Why? Because we have the same elements here. Let's see the other elements, the other headings, sorry. 6, a newspaper superseded by technology. Technology is the main idea in this heading, while technology is not mentioned as a main idea in the paragraph. Leave it. 7, getting the newspaper to the printing center. It talks about the transmission as a main idea, while this one talks about the production as a main idea. So it doesn't match. Leave it. Controlling the robots, we don't have robots. Beware of robots, we don't have any warning, danger, or alert about the robots. So we have the only answer here, the only possible answer here is V, number 5, split location for newspaper production. And that is the right answer. Now, let's move on to paragraph B. Paragraph B says, Once the finished newspaper has been created for the next morning's edition, all the pages are transmitted electronically from the prepress center to the printing center. Let us read it again. Once the finished newspaper has been created for the next morning's edition, all the pages are transmitted electronically from the prepress center to the printing center. Let's read it for the third time. Once the finished newspaper has been created for the next morning's edition, we don't have any main idea here. Let's go on with the sentence. All the pages are transmitted electronically from the prepress center to the printing center. It talks about the transmission of the newspapers from the prepress center to the printing center. So we have one heading here in the choices talks about the transmission, which is 7 VII, getting the newspaper to the printing center. And that is the right answer. Let's go to paragraph C. In paragraph C, I just want you to pay more attention to it, and I'm going to drink some water before explaining it. Sorry. Let me explain it carefully. Firstly, I'm going to read it. Secondly, I'm going to explain it and explain something really important. Sometimes they do in the IELTS to mislead you. Let's start with reading sentence number 1. A procession of automated vehicles is busy at the new printing center where the Sydney Morning Herald is printed each day. Let's reread sentence number 1. A procession of automated vehicles is busy at the new printing center where the Sydney Morning Herald is printed each day. If you read it for the third time, for the fourth time, you will find it carries no main idea. It's just an introductory sentence to the paragraph. So we move immediately to the second sentence, as we have explained at the beginning, when we said to find the headings, read the first sentence of the paragraph. If you find it, stop reading, do the answer, write the correct answer, and move immediately to the following one. If you don't find it, that means it's an introductory sentence to the paragraph, and move immediately to the second one. Let's move immediately to the second one. With lights flashing and warning horns honking, the robots, to give them their correct name, the LGBs or laser-guided vehicles, look for all the world-like enthusiastic machines from a science fiction movie as they follow their own random paths around the plant, busily getting on with their own jobs. Let's reread it carefully. With lights flashing and warning horns honking, the robots, to give them their correct name, the LGVs or laser-guided vehicles, and so on. Let me explain something which is really important. I just want you to look at the sentence which is between the two brackets. To give them the correct name, the LGVs or laser-guided vehicles. Okay, I'm totally sure now that the majority of you, most of you, are thinking that the answer could be number 2, double I, or number 4, IV. It's neither 2 nor I. Why? We said when we want to answer the heading means the main idea of the paragraph, the topic sentence of the paragraph, the heading sentence of the paragraph, which outlines, which gives the idea, okay, of the paragraph. There is something in the English language. When you have a sentence between two brackets or between two commas, when you have a sentence between two brackets or between two commas, this sentence is extra. It can never be the main idea. Why? Because it explains the meaning, it modifies, it intensifies, it classifies the meaning of the word that precedes it. So, to give them here the sentence, to give them their correct name, the LGVs or laser guided vehicles. This sentence is between two brackets, or let's say between two commas. It's not the main idea of the paragraph because it explains the meaning of robots. Okay? And let us delete it. When I deleted it, if you read the sentence, with lights flashing and warning horns honking, the robots look for all the world like enthusiastic machines, blah, blah, blah. It did not affect the meaning. It did not change the meaning at all. So in this case, they put this sentence in order to mislead you. And this is one of the ways in which they will try to deceive you, to trick you in the IELTS test. Okay? And remember always, this technique or this way, or let's say the sentence between the two brackets or the two commas is sorry for the headings skills only. For the headings skill only. It's not for the yes, no, not given. It's not for the multiple choices. It's not for the MCQs. It's not for the gaps. It's none for any. It's just for the heading. Okay? So now, let's reread it now. With lights flashing and warning horns honking. If you remember at the beginning, we said if you face one of those words, one of them in the heading, and one of them and another one of them, sorry, in the paragraph, in one of the paragraphs, do not think, just choose it. We said the words are beware, alert, warning, danger. So don't think. We have warning here. We have beware here. So the answer is number 9, IX. That's it. Is that understood for everyone? I'm sure. If you face it, don't think of it. Okay, now let's move on to the last paragraph of this exercise. D. The question newspaper workers must now ask, however, is how long will it be before the robots are writing the newspapers as well as running the printing center, churning out the latest edition every morning? Before we go on, what's the meaning of churning out? Don't want you to guess. If you know the meaning, answer me. If you don't know, keep silent and keep your mics muted. Who knows the precise meaning of churning out? What's the meaning of churning out? Nobody? Okay. Let me tell you something and why I asked you. When I told you of the beginning, before we start our exercise, I told you you don't have to know the meaning of each single word in the passage. And it's a way they will try to make you waste your time because they know people who speak English as a second language will care about the meaning of the word, of one word, and they will not care about the entire meaning, or let's say the answer. So in this case, churning out is not important. It's none of your business to know the precise meaning of it. Don't lose your time on it. Okay? Now, let's move on. Let's move on. Let us go back to the answer. Okay? Okay, sorry. Mr. Ali, would you please mute your mic? Thank you very much. Okay, now, let's go back. The question newspaper workers must now ask, however, is How long will it be? How long will it be before the robots are writing the newspapers as well as running the printing center? How long will it be? Let's come to it. How long will it be? Okay, we have will. So it's an intention for the future. And it talks about, let's say, thinking of and about the future, or let's say predicting, expecting the future. So, which heading means the future? We have only one heading, that is number 3, triple I, looking ahead. So, the answer is looking ahead. Okay, before I ask you something, let me tell you something here. When you choose a heading, for example, if you choose number 1 for heading A, you go to heading B, you see the answer is number 1, 2. That's an impossible case in the headings. So, in this case, one of your answers is wrong, whether the first one or the second one. So, you need to go back and check and see which answer is correct, and you need to find another answer for the wrong one. Okay, that means do not repeat the heading unless they give you a nota bene, a note. And in the headings, you will never have a nota bene. Okay, now, thank you very much. Before I give you some work to do, now, let me ask you a question. Who has a question here? Who has a question? Do not hesitate asking, and don't let me call your names one by one. If you have a question, please ask. Who has a question? Yes, Mr. Fadil.
Mr. Haida, I'm sorry. I'm GTG operator at the night shift, and I'm in the work now. I'm sorry, I leave the lecture, so I
Okay.
just came in. Sorry, I just want to ask one question. What's
Yeah.
meaning the heading list of the heading? This
Let's
is
okay.
which part
Let's
it's came. I'm so sorry again.
no. It's okay. It's one of the skills of how to answer the IELTS reading test. It might be a
Okay.
question. It might be 2 questions. That
Yeah.
means you could have seven, 7 out of 40. You could have 13. You could have 6. That depends.
So this for reading task meaning, right?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much. I
You're
appreciate
most
that for
welcome.
you, Mr. Head. Thank you.
Thank you. The lecture is recorded and it will be uploaded on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's my
Okay.
pleasure because I'm so busy with my power plant because I'm working the night shift. I'm
Don't
sorry
worry.
again. I'm
Don't
so
worry. It's
sorry.
okay. It's okay.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
most welcome. Others who has a question, do not hesitate asking. Nobody has a question? Okay. Now we are going to practice doing here some exercise. Here you have the list of the headings on the right, and you will have 7 paragraphs, A to G. I want you to answer them. I will give you 2 minutes for each paragraph. Then you will revise it within 2 minutes for each paragraph too. And after that, we are going to answer and explain the reason. Please answer them with a paper and a pen. Use a paper and a pen. Okay, I will start counting the 2 minutes starting from now. Start. Okay, paragraph A. Paragraph A says, the amount of time people spend researching, checking the prices, visiting the stores, and seeking advice. Researching, checking the prices, visiting the stores, and seeking advice. They all mean purchase, to run after something. So the answer is IV for introducing a novel approach to purchasing, because we have researching, checking the prices, visiting the stores, and seeking advice. they mean to purchase. Paragraph B. More people are buying the products online, especially at peak buying periods. This is the first sentence and it carries no idea, no main idea at all. The total value of e-commerce transactions in the United States in the fourth quarter of 2004 reached $18 billion, a 22% increase over the same period in 2003. So now we have 2004 to 2003, and we've got a percentage. According to the Department of Commerce in Washington, D.C., but that just represents 2%. We've got another percentage. When we've got a percentage in mathematics, means, or in statistics, it means it's a figure. So, what this figure is about? It's about commerce. Commerce means trading, which means buying and selling, which means sales. So the answer will be VIII, 8, a look of the sales figures. Figures means when you draw a curved line mathematically or statistically about some percentage, and this line goes up and down. It's a curvy line. Okay. Now, C. If you consider the internet's wider influence over what people spend their money on, if you consider the internet's wider influence, when you have influence, affect, effect, and adjust, they all mean change. Why? Because when you are influenced by something or someone, you will change something. When you want to adjust with something, you will change something. Let me explain it more. When you are influenced, for example, by, let's say, your friend, you will start imitating something of your friend. So, but what this change is over? Is over what people spend their money on. The people who spend the money, what we call them? What do we call them? We call them consumers, customers, or clients, which means the answer will be number 3, triple I, the bigger picture of how internet use changes consumer behavior. Okay, now let's move on to D. D says, the internet is moving the world closer to perfect product and price information. The additional knowledge it can provide makes consumers more self-assured. Consumers, customers, clients, more, that means an increase. Self-assured, which means the confidence. So the answer will be 1, I, increasing customer confidence. E, far from losing trade to online merchants, from losing to being a business person. It's a benefit. So it's number 2, double I, a benefit to retailers, sorry. Let's move to paragraph F. Merchants who charge too much and offer poor service, however, should beware. Beware, and we've got 5, danger. So without thinking, 5, V, the dangers for retailers. Let's move on to the last one. Some companies are already adjusting. Adjust means change their business models to take account of these trends. Business models. What's a business model? When you go to some place, let's say a company, let's say any corporation, let's say any university, or whatever, when you see the front desker, the secretary is always somebody who will be the face of that place. Somebody who can speak well, somebody who can deal well. So, the face of the business, the model of the business, that means the face of the company or the face of the shop. So, in this case, the answer will be 7, VII, changing the face of the shop and the internet site. Okay. Any questions? Who has a question here? If you have a question, do not hesitate asking. Who has a question? Question. Nobody again? If you have no questions, we come to the end of our lecture for today. I wish that you got the benefit of it. Thank you very much. Wish you all the best.